Now, having a baby is a beautiful experience, but it's also complex, expensive, and even dangerous for the mother and child. Dangerous, especially if the baby is born too soon. It is an extremely disruptive and painful experience for families. Now, a recent report by UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and other partners revealed that every 40 seconds, one preterm baby dies. As is expected, we in the global south, both in Asia and Africa, account for 65% of preterm births. Only 1 in 10 preterm babies survive in low-income countries, and Kenya is among countries with moderately high preterm births. In our oldest maternity hospital, Pumwani, a third of all babies born at the facility every day are preterm. Well, we visited the hospital to see what interventions it has put in place, but also the challenges in giving these fragile little human beings a fighting chance. Take a look. Margaret Tabu Alulu cradles her baby. This is her 4th. She was born 2 months before her due date.
Kama mama nikalia, alikuwa amewekwa oxygen na drip, haezi nyonya, haezi fanya nini, nikalia na daktari mmoja akaniambia usilie, muona ni wengi si wako peke yake. Akanitia moyo, nikatoka nikaenda, tena nikarudi, sikumfeed ni kumwangalia tu.
It's now a month since she was born. This moment to hold her without the IVs or oxygen tubes is a cherished one for Margaret. She can now breastfeed from her mother, something that was a major challenge.
Wakati nilikuja, sikuwa na maziwa ya kunyonyesha mtoto. So nilikuwa ninakamua at least haitoki. Nikasema nikajipea moyo, kuna wamama wanaenda kwa milk bank wanapewa maziwa ya watoto, but sikuwa nimeridhika hapo mbeleni. Nikajipea moyo kwenda nikapata wanapima maziwa ya wamama wakipea watoto. Hata mimi nikakuwa mmoja wao wa kuchukulia mtoto wangu maziwa ya wamama. Sasa mtoto wangu amekuwa akikunywa hiyo maziwa, mpaka ikafika mahali pia maziwa yangu ikafanya nini? Ikatoka.
The breast milk bank housed at Pumwani Maternity Hospital has been a huge saving grace for many mothers like Margaret.
So basically, most of their systems are not ready for life outside, including the digestive system. So when we give them formula, it leads to a lot of complications, including the gut getting infected, bleeding, perforations. But when we give them human milk, which is essentially meant for humans, then they tend to adapt better, they grow faster, they have less complications, they get better immunity.
The hospital handles between 18 to 30 premature newborns every single day. This bank is a crucial part of their survival. It's the only one in Kenya, so the supply, fueled by mothers at the hospital, hardly meets the demand.
At the moment, we are really hoping we'll start receiving donors from out of the hospital, but it's still a tall order because we are waiting for some form of regulation.
Kenya is the 3rd country in sub-Saharan Africa with a breast milk bank that was launched in 2019. South Africa was the first on the continent to embrace the concept back in the 1980s. The initiative grew to a network of more than 40 breast milk banks today, supplying milk to thousands of babies across South Africa every year. We visited one that serves Cape Town, which first started at a children's orphanage 20 years ago.
When I first got involved with Milk Matters and said what we did, people said, "You do what?" But now there's much more awareness about it, and you're much more likely now to have somebody say, "Oh yes, my sister donated, my friend donated, my baby got donor milk, or I donated," something like that. Whereas in the beginning it was such a new idea.
All mothers are screened through a blood test, and the milk is pasteurized to ensure safety. Measures the country needed to implement to combat a poor breastfeeding culture, especially after it was hard hit by the HIV/AIDS pandemic. At that time, HIV-positive mothers were being warned that they risked passing on the virus to their babies, which saw the government supply free formula.
There has been an improvement in breastfeeding rates in general, but not enough. They are still poor, but there has been. And South Africa has had a lot of focus on the HIV and breastfeeding, and we have got doctors that have really put a lot of work into it and done a lot of research on it, which has helped get to the point that we're at now, moving from, as you say, the point where they knew that HIV was being transmitted in breast milk and didn't know how to protect the baby from it, so babies were just not being breastfed.
Jenny, like many in the breastfeeding industry, hope more awareness will change the perceptions and eventually make breast milk banks as common as blood banks.